So we're back with another episode of the Eyes Behind the Tears podcast, and I'm so excited for this episode. It is one of the first episodes with someone from my hometown, Gaston County. She's family, and we're just here to just talk about everything gun violence and its impact on our community. So I want to introduce her. Her name is Breanna. Say hi.
Hi.
She's shy. It's so funny because when you know her personally, you know she's not really this shy. But something about introverts, they just get around new people and they just close up.
Yeah.
Oh, MG, I remember growing up, she was not this shy. It just tickled me
I
so much.
was. I actually
You were,
was. Yes.
now you had a lot of friends.
That don't mean I was just shy. I
You
didn't
were
like to
not.
talk in front of people.
You
I
didn't.
no.
So this is really a labor of love because she
Me
doesn't like talking in
and
front of
you
everybody.
was opposites. You
Opposite.
like to talk. I don't.
Yeah, I think it's fitting that I work in media because I have always loved to talk. So that's definitely fitting for me. Very natural. But I remember we were different because I thought you were extroverted because I would always be telling on her. Like we grew up together, so I would always be telling on her, and she hated that about me, guys. She hated that. We called our grandmother. She called her. I call her grandma. We're country, so we're from Gaston County, Florida. So I called her grandma. And she called her mom. I'm like, Grandma, Brianna has a Facebook account at at
Yeah.
13.
Yeah.
No,
You couldn't do anything around like Cambria. She was gonna tell
it
every
was. I was trying to keep her safe. You never knew who was on the internet. I was trying to keep her safe. I was trying to
now
keep her
that we
safe.
are in the adult world, that's what she claimed it to be. But back then, it was just to get me in trouble.
How was it to get you in
Yeah.
trouble when we got punishments together? I'm not gonna tell you what punishment because you're not gonna have it. But I'm not gonna tell you what punishment, but we got them together. So was it really to get you in trouble?
Yes. I got in trouble the most.
That's what she likes to. That's what she likes to think. That's what she likes to think. I feel like if you wasn't doing stuff, I want to get you in trouble, and then you'll be lying to me about your
Just
age. I still.
couldn't tell. You just couldn't keep your mouth closed. You had to tell.
First of all, now that we're grown, she loves me.
I do.
She loves
I
me.
do.
Now that we're grown. Now that we're grown.
We got
OMG.
past
I
that.
don't know. Yes, I don't even know how we got on this topic. I feel like I just wanted us to touch base a little bit. But we're really here to talk about someone very special in her life who he just lost his life very early due to gun violence. Gun violence in Gaston County has been a recurring issue. It's something that's really on the rise. More than seven of my classmates, I believe I talked about this in the last episode. More than seven of my classmates that I've graduated with in 2019 have
Mhm.
either been affected, shot, or killed as a result of gun violence. And it just blows my mind that these people were all under the age of 25, so very young, their lives cut short. Just recently, someone I knew he was murdered. And it just seems like a recurring theme. And it's so sad when you think about such a small community facing such violence from essentially people who they know. It's not even outside people, it's really people that you grew up with, you went to high school with. And as you become adults and you get involved in different things, all that camaraderie just seems to dissipate. And it's just very difficult to think about.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to just know a little bit about the young man that you grew up with and befriended. His name was Cardaz. And I just want you to tell me a little bit about your friend, about who he was as a person prior to the incident.
He was a friend. Not only was he a friend, he was like family to me. Um, Hardworking, a son, a father, a sibling. just the life of the party. You know, when you needed somebody, he was there. Very caring. You know, need somebody to talk to, he was there. Um, Everybody knew him, and it was just so hard when the tragedy came upon and just took his life away.
I remember at your birthday dinner, Cardaz was there. He
Yeah,
just was
he was there.
such a big ball of energy. He was telling jokes, and I'm used to being the one telling jokes, but I was like, I can relax because he got it. He got
And a
everybody
month
laughing.
later,
He
he
was a
was
player.
shot and killed. No, that was a month
Oh,
later.
say it one more time. Oh, you said a month later. My
Yeah,
apologies. That it
yeah.
just seems like just
And it was so crazy because I remember taking pictures with him that night. But for some reason, everybody that I asked don't have them. So I just hate that those were our last little moments before, you know, he got shot on his birthday. Shot and killed on his birthday. Um, August 21st, 2021. And it was so unexpected because we was all there. Like we was getting ready to go party for his birthday. And before we could even make it to Tallahassee, he was shot and killed, which was very unexpected. But yeah,
how old was he?
25. He was 25.
Right at 25.
Yep.
Just turned 25. Me at 24, I can't even imagine my, God forbid, can't even imagine my life ending that young. And for him
Yeah.
to be such a big ball of energy in a light is very difficult. When I even think about, I didn't know him that well. I knew him through you, but
Hmm.
when you just see people who just seem to have just a big personality, you just think about all the people that they are going to touch, and
Hmm.
just very quickly it's like a flash and it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do with those feelings? How do you move past that? Like, if you've never experienced that, you don't even know what to do in that moment.
Yeah. It's really
You,
nothing you can do. Honestly, you can feel the type of way, but in reality, it's nothing you can do about it.
yeah. I think the first person that I knew who was murdered, to put it plain, was my classmate Sean Potter.
Hmm.
I remember, if I'm not mistaken, I remember it was, I think, ninth grade or middle school that we did a project for Black History Month. I remember going to the library with him and us working on it and just building some type of relationship.
Hmm.
And although we didn't stay close, when we saw each other, it was nothing but love. Like, hey, Sean, hey, like Cambria, just
Hmm.
like jokes and laughter. And when we got out of high school, just to see his life end that way, I still don't even know how to feel, let alone imagine how his family and close friends feel. That's something really hard. And I'm just thinking about how that affected my life moving forward. So, how did Cordez, his death, how did it affect your daily life and how you see the world today?
Um, his death changed me in ways I didn't expect. Over time, it reshaped how I see the world. I became more aware of how everything is now. I started noticing the little moments more, being with people, telling them how I feel, not holding back as much. It made me realize that time isn't promised. Um, I think the biggest thing is in how I live now. I try to be more present, more open, because I've learned that the people we love can be gone in an instant. And honestly, there's a kind of clarity that comes with it, a reminder of what really matters.
Yeah. It's so true. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about tomorrow, and then I remember I'm not even promised the rest of today,
Yeah,
let alone tomorrow. So that's
you just never
that's
know. No. Sometimes
definitely
it don't
something.
even be meant for you. You know, you could be caught up in crossfire. You just never know.
Yeah, yeah. And just thinking about it, because I remember seeing stuff about it on the news and on social media. Was there anything that the media or the community did in response to his murder that impacted you, whether negative or positive?
Um, I do remember how quickly the story moved through the media. His name was in the headlines one day and gone the next. For us, it was life shattering, but to the outside world, it just felt like another shooting. That disconnect really hit me. Um, at the same time, the community response meant a lot because people showed up, even just sharing stories about him. That human side reminded me there's still compassion out there, but I also couldn't ignore how normalized gun violence has become. Like everyone's shocked, but no one is surprised anymore. That part is heartbreaking. Um, what stayed with me the most is people really need to see these stories, not just as headlines, but as human lives. He wasn't just a victim of gun violence. He was a son, a friend, a sibling, family, you know, someone who mattered. And I just wish people, especially in the media, held on to that longer. You know.
Mm. Was there any type of aspiration or dream that he might have had shared with you that he wanted to pursue that
Um,
kind of ended?
no,
No,
he always wanted to get money. So
he always wanted to get money.
yeah, he didn't express with me of something that he wanted to do with his life. All I just know is he went to work and he got his money. So
Mhm.
um,
And
go ahead.
and and I'm asking because I like to humanize my the victims that my guests are talking about. I want to humanize them, so I want to give the viewers and the audience a bit more about him, because I know that these questions, they are only touching the surface, so we're kind of breezing through, but there's so many different layers about Cardaz or Edward, or whatever nickname he had. And just to I just want to get to know a little bit more about his personality.
Yeah. Um, like I said, he was just the life of the party. Like when you see him, it was no bad vibes. Um, I don't know. It was just he was Luke Ward. That was his name, and his name stood out. You know.
So where did Edward come from?
That's why I was laughing because that's something he just made up.
Okay, because I was like, and that just shows his personality. The fact that he made it up, and I'm calling him Edward, and you like Cardez, and then Luke Ward. I'm like, I used to call him
Matter of
Edward.
fact, um, I really don't know if that's his middle name. It could be. He has so many names. You don't know what he made up and what was real. So,
And don't it don't. I'm not even gonna try to keep up with it. I just know that name just stuck in my head. It really just stuck in
yeah.
my head for some reason. And I'm so glad that we're getting to talk about this, just because I like you said, the media covered it one day, the next his name was going out of headlines. And that's a trend, that's a pattern that I see with the media when it comes to stories about homicide, murder, gun violence, whatever. whatever, in relation to that issue, it's very fleeting. It's very, very fleeting. Like, we need to get it as soon as the incident occurs because of the momentum. However, it doesn't really pay attention to the sensitive aspect of what's going on. It almost is as if this is, yes, this is news, but to the family, this is
Mm,
such a sensitive topic. And working in media and journalism, I see that so much. You'll see the way people write news articles about shootings. It'll
mhm,
say 26-year-old black male, 5'9", brown hair, killed, shot down. You won't see a name. You won't see any type of attributes about him, internal attributes or the person. It literally is like naming a cadaver, naming a body. Nothing is humanizing the victim at all.
mhm,
And sometimes that's hard to stomach, but also living in this society, growing up in Gaston County, I am unfortunately desensitized to it. I see so many postings about people being killed, shot, and it's like, okay, my condolences, and I scroll, and it when I reflect on it, it's hard because it's like, how are you able to move on that quickly and compartmentalize that grief that you have so
mhm.
fast?
Yeah.
I don't even know how I learned to do that, but I see that with so many people, and it's really only the people who were close to that person who sometimes struggle with compartmentalizing that grief they have versus the outside people like me. It's like a quick thing, like, okay, and that's a lot. And so I think this conversation is important. That's why I wanted to ask you, what conversations do you wish people were having about gun violence, especially involving young victims like Luke or Cardaz or Edward?
I wish they would start having more real conversations. Conversations that go beyond thoughts and prayers or political talking points, especially when it comes to young people in community like ours. I want people to talk about why it keep happening. Why have we made it normal hearing about another young person being shot? Um, I wish more people would ask them what led to this, what support was missing, what resources could have been made. Um, it's not about just about access to guns. It's about lack of opportunities, broken systems, trauma that goes untreated in society that too often give up on us before we even get a chance. So, I wish
Yeah,
people would just talk more about grief and not just policy or crime, but what happens to families, to siblings, to friends left behind. What does it does to a neighborhood to keep losing its own, you know? Because if we don't feel the full weight of the loss, how do we ever stop it from happening again?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any words. Like, I'm just sitting here thinking about that's like a call to action for me. It's
Yeah.
like you had so many points in there, and from trauma, feeling the full weight of the loss, grief. Like, I could go on and on about trauma, especially in Gaston County.
Yeah.
Like, trauma is so big, and the interesting thing is, the people I went to school with, I never knew what type of upbringing they had until I found out, like, hey, they were involved in stuff outside, like stuff in the streets.
Mhm.
And that was after high school. And I realized, I was like, wow, I didn't know that you had it this rough. Like, I thought I had it rough because I grew up in the country on a dirt road, but I
Mhm.
didn't know you had it this rough. Because, to be honest with you, in Gaston County, like, the OP stands for old projects or new
Mhm.
projects, which are, they're housing communities that are created for different income levels of people, and a lot
Mhm.
of them are income based. So the government, they'll subsidize those rent prices for the tenants, and someone may have a rent price of, I don't know, maybe like $100, depending on your income, or even less than that. So you'll see a lot of people living in those communities. But
Mhm.
in high school, I would hear OP or new projects, and I'm just like, okay, well, like, it's not cool, but it's like kind of like cool, like this the hangout spot. So everybody
Mhm.
there, or like I'm from the OP. Like it's almost it's almost in a sense a community within a community because those both are in Quincy, right down the street from each other. But it's like a
Mhm.
community within itself, and it gets to be territorial. So not so much a gang, but I'm from here and I'm proud of that,
Mhm.
and I'm claiming that. And anybody got anything to say about that, like, you got to talk to me about it.
Girl, please.
No, 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 not me. Not
Okay.
me, but I'm saying like whoever
Okay.
from there. Girl,
Ah.
cause see, first of all, I never claimed to be about it. I was in the house.
Yeah, in the house.
Yeah,
We were in the house.
yeah, I'm talking about other people. I was in the house.
Okay.
I used to tell people I'm from the hood, but I never got outside. So I just lived
Mm-hmm.
there. I never went outside. Yeah.
Yep.
But but for them it was really a thing about belonging and pride. And I didn't realize until I got older
Mm-hmm.
how detrimental that was to an extent, because at some point that meant that you were willing to die for this neighborhood that you're claiming.
Yep.
And I know that's shocking for some people, but people have died for a community that is owned by the government,
Mm-hmm.
subsidized by the government. You have no stake in it, and it's so sad. But it's when you're going through that type of poverty and you're that impoverished, you want to have some sense of ownership, and you'll get it any way you can. And
Yeah.
you'll see that in a lot of different gangs. They're claiming blocks and neighborhoods that don't even give them resources, but it's about ownership. It's about some type of pride, some type of belonging. When you don't have much, you're willing to get anything that feels like you have, even if it's a false reality. And I've seen it so much. So many kids lost their lives. I remember that when I first got to high school, it was this young man named Bull. I saw him, and then very quickly after, I learned that he had got killed. And I was like, "What? People in Gaston County get killed?"
Yeah.
I learned very quickly, and I don't know his full name, but a lot of people in the community
Trail.
love him. Yes, Kentrell. A lot of people in the community love him and still grieve him, and remember his name and his life. And I didn't know at the time. Very quickly after that, I learned. I just saw classmate after classmate after classmate after classmate. Even girlfriends of classmates get killed,
Yep.
and it's difficult when I think about it. I mean, we are so young, so young,
Yeah.
and it's hard because it's like you want to go back and help your community, you want to find pride in it, but so many people are on the other side of the fence trying to escape it.
Yeah. It starts with the county as well. We got so many people in these seats that aren't doing anything about it. They're so more focused on partying, hanging out, drinking, instead of solving cold cases. Still, now there's a lot of cold cases still haven't been solved in Gadsden County. But it just gets swept under the rug each and every
And
time.
and I'm going to say this, and hopefully I don't get any flack about it, but for Gaston County to be so small and everybody know everybody, there's no reasons why these cases should be cold.
Yeah.
Because someone knows something,
Yeah.
but it's this idea, and I talked about this last episode with Noah. It's this idea of I don't want to be a snitch that makes
Mhm.
everything so difficult.
But
And
it would be a different, story if it was their family or their loved one.
yeah,
So,
yeah, and that's hard because, like I said before, in certain communities or certain cliques, organizations, whatever you want to call them, respect is the number one thing.
Mhm.
So the idea of keeping your mouth closed gets you some sort of respect from people that you don't even know. You know, you may
Yep.
be cordial with them, but you don't know them enough to want their respect. But it's getting you respect in not only amongst your peers, but in the streets, or on that type of informal level, and in that type of
Mhm.
lifestyle. That's really all you have is your respect. So I I understand why some people really take it very seriously, the idea of not snitching, or snitches get stitches, or just keeping it pushing, even if it is your brother or your sister that just got killed. It's like, well, I'm not gonna snitch, but I'm gonna go and I'm gonna handle it. But I'm not gonna do what I can to get the case solved and get justice for the family. But I'm gonna go get justice my own way, which
Mhm.
is difficult. It is. It's very difficult to think about, and it's so hard. Like, especially where we're from, that respect. That's it. You in middle school. I remember in middle school, we would literally have lockdown days because some of the kids were fighting because they were in different groups or organizations, like gangs, based on where they're from or where they live. Respect was so
Mhm.
big even in middle school. I'm talking adolescents, preteens fighting about a community because of their respect. So just imagine adults. Like, it literally matriculated throughout their teens and now into adulthood. So that's something that's just been ingrained in them for a long time. Probably started at home. That's something so hard to unlearn. So me, a stranger, is really not going to do too much to help them unlearn that. But I just want to give a little bit of perspective on how this type of mindset, takes root and just blossoms inside of a person.
Mhm.
And what you're saying is true. We have so many officials, and sometimes I think, I'm like, I know these people, but I'm not gonna get on here and lie. It is so much that's not being done. It's not.
Yeah.
It is so much that I wish was done, and I know can be done. I'll see different things about, like, city ordinances about noise and loitering and hanging out and all these different things, but it's so many other priorities that I think the city should be worried about. Do I know the full scale of what's going on in Gaston County? I do not. However, just from a someone who's a native of the county, you know, I do think there are other priorities that could be attended to or should be prioritized more.
Mhm.
I definitely can agree with that. Yeah, for sure. And then even just thinking about the high school, my siblings, they go to Gaston County High School, and to hear
Mhm.
sometimes about the difficulties that they face and the nature of how the school is ran in terms of trying to keep it safe because of some of the students and some of the things that they're doing inside the school.
Mhm.
Kids bringing weapons, kids fighting, suspended, making threats. This is the stuff that I dealt with when I was in high school. I graduated in 2019. It's still the same stuff. And so just think about how this is going to matriculate into some of the adults.
Mhm.
You don't have a resource officer making you calm down or making you go home when you're grown in the streets. You don't have a guidance counselor talking to you saying, hey, you have a future ahead of you. It's not worth the fight. You don't have a principal saying, hey, I know you. I've watched you grow up. So it's not worth this. You have so much potential. You don't have that when you're
Mhm.
outside of the school walls. What you do have is a bunch of peers who value respect, or this facade of respect, just as much as you do. So any idea about what the future may hold or may bring is out of your mind. So that's why I truly, I step inside of the shoes of people who are in these lifestyles, and I see how desensitized it is for them to, navigate such a dangerous lifestyle, for people to take other people's lives. And it's hard to think about. It's hard because when you think about the amount of trauma they've experienced, the poverty, lack of support. Some people don't have parents. Some people had to support their siblings. So all they're thinking about is survival. How can I get the next meal for my family? How can I make this money? How can I do this? I'm not thinking about the person that I just laid down. They're not the end. They're a means to an end for me. And that's a place that, it's hard to come back from. Um, but I definitely wanted to just touch base for people who may not have ever directly been impacted by gun violence. I just wanted to ask you, Breanna, is there anything that you would tell someone directly who hasn't been impacted by gun violence, and what would you want them to understand about this issue?
Mm, I would say just because it hasn't touched your life yet doesn't mean it isn't real or urgent. For some of us, it isn't just a headline. It's an empty chair that's at the table. The text we'll never get back. The grief doesn't fade away after the news cycle move on. People carry grief every day. I want them to really sit with that to understand that behind every story is a whole community of people hurting. And we don't need sympathy from a distance. We need people to care enough to listen, to speak up, and push for a change, even if it's not happening in their neighborhood. Because truth is, silence and inaction helps keep this cycle going. So,
Yeah, yeah. She said it best.
yeah,
It's almost as if silence or idleness or passiveness or inaction is just as dangerous as the aggressor.
yeah.
I know that's comfortable neutral or comfortable ground for some people, but it's just as dangerous as the aggressor or the person perpetrating this issue or cycle. And, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about it.
Hmm.
You know, we may get some flack. We may get some people say, hey, that's not cool, but at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be cool. I don't need your respect. Yeah.
That's right.
That's not the type of currency that I operate off of. Yeah, so she definitely said a mouthful. And I'm just so glad that we got a chance to sit down and talk. And I'm just so happy that you warmed up to us. For her to be so shy.
One time for everything, you guys. One time.
No, no, she's gonna be back. Well, hopefully not, because on this podcast we really talk about gun violence and the implications of it. So hopefully not. Hopefully you don't have a reason to come back. But you never know what the future holds. You don't know.
I put my pride to the side for y'all now.
OMG. You was struggling that hard about this?
Yes, I
Look, I'm so
was.
proud. I'm so proud.
Now I'm
I'm
proud of
so
you
proud.
that you're so
Oh,
dedicated to get your work done, that you're dedicated, to school. I'm proud of you. So I had to make it do what it do for you.
I'm so grateful because I don't want to go off on my tangent, but Lord knows school and work, who? Only thing holding me up is Jesus.
That's who holding me up, to sister. That's who holding me
Hello.
up.
Hello. I don't mean to get religious on my viewers, but I'm not religious. I'm relational. That's who holding me
Yeah.
up. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely appreciate you taking the time to come out and just chat with us. And I'm just so grateful to get another perspective on here. Someone who has seen this and not just standing outside the window, somebody who's been in the room, at the table, taken a seat, talked, shared bread with the person, not just someone who is having a perspective that's removed. And you see that so much. You'll have people talking about issues and it's like, Why are you talking?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
this one, we definitely got a great perspective and just a genuineness about the topic and a great sensitivity that is just unmatched. So I'm very grateful. And I just want to say thank you once again. I want to wrap this up
Welcome.
and catch us. You, I'm so grateful. And catch us on the next episode of The Eyes Behind the Tears. And I look forward to seeing you guys again. Bye.
See ya.